Buzzworthy Radio is on. The entertainment show that gets you up close and personal with today's hottest stars. Here's your host, Novell J. Lee.
Hey guys, welcome into the BUZZCast here at Buzzworthy Radio. I'm Novell J. Lee, and right now we're about to showcase some of our interviews that we had the chance to conduct at San Diego's Comic-Con last month. This was my first ever Comic-Con experience, and let me tell you, no matter what anybody says about this, please, if you ever get the opportunity to go. We're going to do an actual review of Comic-Con at a later date with all of my comrades that I got to go with. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that because that's going to be coming down the pipeline very, very soon. But I'm just going to give you a heads up right now. It was an absolute blast. I was very excited to take part in such a phenomenon, and getting the chance to interview so many people, it was just absolutely mesmerizing, and I'm so glad I get to share this with you all. Part 2 of our podcast at San Diego Comic-Con kicks off as we hit up the Loungefly booth, as we talked with Derrick, Baca, and DeSilva, who are the Senior Vice Presidents of Creative, Innovation, and Vision, and they were so cool. And listen, when I tell you that Derrick's drip was on point, it literally was on point. You got to go on the website to check out exactly what he was wearing. I got pictures of it. It was absolutely fly. Take a listen. Hi. Yes, all good. Nice to meet you both. I'm here with DeSilva and Derrick. Baca. Did I was like, oh my God, please let me say that right.
It's Baca.
It's Baca. First of all, I gotta point out the fact that this strip that you're wearing right now is absolutely phenomenal.
Neon Tiger, what?
Yes. I was going like it's Vanilla Ice meets Jurassic Park.
I think that's a huge compliment to him.
Oh, yeah.
It's the glasses, really.
Yeah, well, we're partners in real life. So she actually went to my house and saw my notebook where I literally threw up and said, word to your mother.
He used to doodle lyrics to Vanilla Ice songs in his notebooks. When we first started dating, I found this and I was dying.
That is absolutely amazing. So now full circle. This is great. This is great. First of all, when I walked up into this booth and I saw that Return of the Jedi shirt, I had to mention it. It literally was going, I have to have it. I have to have it.
We call those our movie poster shirts. So it's where we just go big and bold for like the super fan that is not afraid to show their fandom on their shirt.
Yeah, so this has been the third one. So we did all of the first 5, 6, and 7. So last year was Empire, and this is the 40th anniversary of Jedi, so that's why we did it for this one.
That's amazing. Now, for those of you like me, this is my first con. So ever. So getting this experience right now is absolutely phenomenal for me. For those that don't know what Loungefly is, tell us a little bit about that.
So we are a fan fashion brand. We are a lifestyle brand now. We create everything from small accessories, enamel pins, keychains, to full-blown apparel, unisex apparel, dresses, skirts, mini backpacks, full-size backpacks, all the things. And we're expanding in the future into a little bit more.
I saw the group backpack and I was going like, oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
That's a good example of how Loungefly is different in the market. So we work with a lot of studios and partners who allow us to take liberty with their brands and create all of our artwork in-house.
So that's stylized character artwork done by one of our in-house artists. We have a team of about 22 artists. They are all over the country and they are like the best of the best.
And it's so unique, as I heard earlier, you can't find pretty much a lot of this stuff anywhere else.
No.
Not in our art style. I mean, there's a lot of people that are inspired by us in the world of mini backpacks, but you can't do anything with the art that we create.
And aside from the artwork, our design team is just phenomenal. So we come up with some
Look at that Hello Kitty bag.
And, I mean, it has got a coin bag.
This is our first ever 3-in-1. This is our first ever 3-in-1 bag. So our design teams are constantly like innovating beyond what other brands are willing to put time and energy into. We'll spend the time, we'll spend the money. We want to be the best of the best.
We like to say we sell collectible art. I mean, at the end of the day, we have a lot of people that just have walls and walls. They'll buy one for their personal and one for their wall.
That's awesome. What can you tell us about what's to come, exclusives that you can share with us?
Well, I mean, I think at this con we tried something very new kind of for us. So we did a full-size Soundwave backpack with Transformers. So people know us as the Mini Backpack Company. Obviously.
Not like because I'm wearing a neck,
Exactly. So, and I'm a huge Transformers fan, so I'm like, we're going to do this. And me my personal favorite was Soundwave. You could do Megatron.
You could do Megatron.
You could do Optimus. You could do Bumblebee. But, you know, who's going to do that? And it's so far, every day, it's been the first thing to sell out.
Yep.
So that tells us
that we're headed in the right direction.
That's right.
And as we go into 2024, we are going to be offering more unisex, full-size type of silhouettes and more utilitarian and functional silhouettes as well.
And, you know, we did before. Like in 2019, we still sold some, like, larger size bags, but with the pandemic there was like a lull, right? And travel bags, even work bags, school bags. Now that like life is you know, back to normal, we're really seeing that
more people are now wanting to get out, and so they're now going to need.
Well, our fan base expanded dramatically. In 2019, we had 172,000 Instagram followers.
Nice.
Now across platforms, we are inching up on 2 million across all platforms.
That's
so
amazing.
Obviously we have a lot more eyes on the brand now. So we want to make sure that we're offering products for all the different types of customers that we have now.
That's amazing. And like I said, that shirt rocked. I would love to see more styles of that, because I'll definitely be on board and getting them, because that detail is spectacular.
Oh, thank
really
you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
We then moved our way over to the Mad Cave Studios booth and spoke with Amit Tischler, who writes Eden Frost. This is coming out. I got the preview of this, and it's absolutely an amazing story. After losing their parents in the pogrom, teenage siblings Alex and Yuli use the mystical power of a golem to survive the chaos of the Russian Civil War. In a harrowing journey through war-torn Ukraine, the duo will face the harsh reality of warfare, ethnic bias, and national pride as they fight for their own place in the world. We got to talk to Amit about this. This was an absolutely incredibly... I'm using that word absolutely because, honestly, it really was a great conversation that I had with him. We just went so in-depth with this. In this conversation, it was probably one of the best interviews I've ever done, where we got to talk about those types of issues, these real life issues that we really don't get to do on my podcast a lot. So this outside of the box that we got to step kind of was needed. Hopefully you guys feel that way as well. Here it is, our interview with Amit Tischler. Take a listen. So I'm here with Amit Tischler, and we're standing here at the Mad Cave booth, and we're about to talk about Eden Frost. So tell us a little bit about that. I heard a little bit, but yeah, let's get a little in-depth with this story.
Absolutely. So Eden Frost tells the story of Alex and Yuli Lowe, who are two siblings who are using the mystical power of a golem in order to survive through the horrific events of the Russian Civil War. Okay. It's essentially a story that kind of reimagines the folklore monster, or the idea of the golem, like in the Golem of Prague.
Yes.
But it puts it in a very different context, and it kind of reimagines how it operates, what it means to this character, to these two characters, and how it plays a role in this bigger conflict.
Mm-hmm. And I know I heard while I was standing at the booth, it talks about even topics that are relevant to this day.
Absolutely.
In this, and I just realized that you're from Israel.
That is correct.
Oh my goodness.
That's correct.
That's we could literally go in depth with that if we want, but
probably not. But I will say this. Yeah. But I will say the one relevant thing is
absolutely.
That this is. I can tell you something that I haven't discussed in any of these signings, which is what kind of triggered the start of what led me to develop this story.
Yes.
So, my grandparents from both sides are Holocaust survivors. And my grandma died just a few years ago, and it was during 2020.
During COVID, yeah.
She didn't die from COVID, but she died. She survived Auschwitz at the age of 14.
Wow.
So, and she developed had a very strong personality, mm-hmm. And held, like, one of the main characters in Eden Frost is actually very loosely inspired by her personality, Yuli, the girl. She moved to Israel out of Slovakia for a place that feels safe. And it always haunted her to know that still in the modern world, anti-Semitism is still an element that is ongoing. It hasn't gone away. It hasn't gone out of vogue, right?
Right.
She died in 2020, literally a few weeks before I ended up, turning on the news and seeing people, American people, right here, walking with Nazi flags and doing Nazi salutes in rallies.
We're seeing a lot of swastikas more coming out.
Exactly. And she just died at the age of like 94. And the first thought that came to my head when I saw that was kind of a dark one, so it caught me off guard. I just thought, wow, I'm so glad that she died before she could see that. And that kind of forced me to think a lot about a lot of things that I honestly didn't really have to think about, like anti-Semitism in the current context. Why is it still relevant?
Yeah.
Why is it still ongoing? What is it about the idea of the Jewish identity, not the actual Jewish identity, because it is such a malleable concept, but what is it about it that still sticks, that makes it such an effective weapon?
Yeah.
So really, Eden Frost does generalize it, and it talks about issues. It makes a statement about identity. And it's a general statement that it really branches out in a lot of different ways. But the statement is that identity is, in the end, a mental construct. And when weaponized, that construct can be used to unite, to divide, or to annihilate.
Right.
And throughout the story of Eden Frost, I'm definitely, I picked these characters that are essentially like children and teenagers, like they're growing up into a world not understanding any of these concepts. Or
it's kind of like they're still developing, and they're now,
exactly.
They're now starting to learn and understand like
That's
cultures
right.
and really not just the nationality, but just also history, depth, pretty much.
And one of the important things is I don't think this actually shows up in media as often, where it focuses on the secular perspective. So the only thing I can say about Israel right now is the idea of secular Judaism versus the more orthodox or traditional, certainly on everybody's minds over there right now.
Absolutely.
And certainly on mine, because I came from a secular background. So I wanted to tell a story that is perfectly secular, because one of the things that kept going through my head when I was looking at this imagery on the news is, you know what, my grandparents they didn't grow up in a shtetl, they weren't Orthodox, you couldn't tell that they were Jewish.
Of course.
They spoke the language, they viewed themselves as Poles and as Slovak, right? They looked like everybody else, and yet, once the idea of the Jewish identity was weaponized, was made into the enemy, it didn't matter that they could pass. Because one of the things that was very effective and malleable about the Jewish identity is that it's not really rooted in anything that is racial or even cultural. There are a lot of different races and a lot of different cultures all under this idea of the Jewish umbrella. But in the end, I think one of the most effective things about it is the fact that if I'm living in Poland and I'm not a Jew, but my neighbor is secular Jew and they just came for him, part of me will go, wait a minute, but what if another neighbor snitches on me, right?
Yeah.
I am not a Jew, but how can they tell?
How could they know? How would they know?
Exactly, and that really pushed people out of paranoia to point at the other. And that's what's effective about it. It turns people against each other.
I think that's really the biggest point of all that you just made. It's just turning people against each other.
Yeah.
It's creating such a divide that we really hadn't seen this extreme in a huge amount of time, and now it's back again, but pretty much. We're living in a time now where that was years ago, and we're now reliving that history in the present day. So it's just, for me, just seeing this now, not just for my own sake, for being an African American man, but also for what you just said, for the Jew community, Jewish, and it's just a big divide was made because we are basically told that it is okay.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And by the way, I'm glad you said this, because the whole idea of using anti-Semitism as the topic is because it's so malleable, I want people to be able to see this as a general problem. Anti-Semitism specifically is about the Jewish people, but the concept, the logic that works behind it is so malleable and so applicable to so many other groups.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the things that I really want to play with throughout this series. And once again, show it through the perspective of characters that do not understand these concepts, but are all of a sudden told that they're the other.
Yeah.
Right? And all of a sudden they're in the middle of a conflict they do not understand.
Yeah.
And this is a fascinating, like the Russian Civil War was fascinating to me because unlike World War II where everything was very clean cut, right?
Yeah.
These are the Axis, these are the West, and like everything was very clear. The Russian Civil War, much like World War I, was absolute chaos and there were a lot of different forces at play. And most people don't know a lot about this time period, including the fact that pogroms, like there were massive Jewish genocides during that time period in Ukraine that can very clearly act as they were used as almost like a pilot or a reference point to a lot of what the Nazis ended up adopting to their own, methodology.
Yep.
So I want to really hone in on that because I think that what happened there has more in line with kind of the current state of events than something as clean as World War II. It's because it's so muddled. And because people don't know a lot about this conflict, neither do our main characters. So they're going to learn about it through their eyes and through their perspectives as well.
I think Eric, we were talking earlier, he made like a very valid point about the fact that you're telling a story while it's in a fictional capacity, we're still talking about something so real and relevant to our own history. And I think that's really amazing that you're doing that with Eden Frost. So
thank you.
Yes, and just teaching everybody, not just us of our generation, younger generations who, reading this story, they're going to be learning something from this. So I'm very proud of that. So
thank you.
Thank you so much for telling the story. I can't wait to read it. Can't wait to check it out. And also, I have to mention this because it's still funny to me. just the mere fact that, just documenting your story about coming in on the train is absolutely hilarious to me. For those of you who don't know, I was on the plane, literally I was just up in the air minding my own business on Twitter, and he's just posting about what life was like when he took the headphones off. So that was amazing to me.
Thank you so much. The moment I took my headphones off to let them charge, I started just hearing the conversations around me, which were incredibly milquetoast. And I think the moment that broke me was the one person who said, I never went into an Olive Garden, and I'm like, God damn it, headphones back on.
That literally was me. I'm going like, how have you never been in an Olive Garden?
It is fine. You do not have to.
You don't have to. And I will preface this by saying, yes, to certain people who are going to be listening to this, I know I do say that Olive Garden is the Italian version of McDonald's, but also I have stepped foot in one. So I kind of am judgy, but not a little judgy, but also a little judgy.
Words, sir.
But I'm also a little judgy. But this was awesome. Thank you so much for taking so much. Thank you so much for meeting with me and talking with me.
Of course, my pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
This was an amazing Saturday when we went to the Nat Geo party. Incredible vibe. It was absolutely phenomenal. And I got to sit down and talk to Bertie Gregory. And just for the mere fact of his exploration underwater and across the country, across the globe, just to get the opportunity to discuss with him about these adventures that he got to experience, especially starting at such a young age, incredible. This was an amazing day and also a great person that I got to sit down and chat with. Here it is, our interview with Bertie Gregory. Check it out. Hey guys, it's Novell with The Buzz at Buzzworthy Radio. I'm here at the Nat Geo party, and I'm sitting here with Bertie Gregory. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, first of all, everything about exploration, I'm watching the videos now, just seeing like your adventures, it's just absolutely phenomenal. How did you get into doing that? Because you got into that at a very young age.
Yeah, so since a really early age I've been obsessed with wildlife, and I think that originally came from the fact that my family, my mum and dad, my three brothers, they're all obsessed with being in the ocean, water sports, sailing, surfing, that kind of thing. So I think when you, from a really early age, thrown into the sea, that becomes normal, that is your happy place, and I think that's where my passion for wildlife came from. And as a teenager, I started to realize if I took pictures of the animals I was obsessed with, that was a great way to kind of channel my passion, my obsession. But I also realized it was a great way to get other people excited about what I was excited about. So through that, I entered a few young wildlife photography competitions, and fortunately won a couple, and at one of the awards ceremonies I got to meet a guy called Steve Winter, who is one of National Geographic's sort of legendary wildlife photographers, and he was looking for a new assistant. So I was in the right place at the right time. That was my Willy Wonka golden ticket moment. And he offered me a job, and I worked for him for 2 years, and 10 years on, I'm still working for National Geographic.
And what was this award? It was the Youth Outdoor Professional of the Year?
Youth Outdoor Photographer of the Year, yeah.
That's incredible. Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
I mean, I grew up watching Nat Geo, especially when it comes to outdoor photography, outdoor exploration. Every Saturday morning, it's always something like that on. So this always, watching these videos, just seeing the water, just seeing the ocean excavations, it's just absolutely beautiful. What has so far has been your favorite place to explore?
For me, it's Antarctica.
Really?
It's so big, it's so wild. So for my new show, Animals Up Close, that comes out in September on Disney+, we did do an episode to the Antarctic, and we went to try and film a family of killer whales who are part of a very unique population. There's only 100 in existence that they have a very special hunting strategy. So they look for seals that are resting on chunks of ice. And a seal resting out the water on a piece of ice. Well, how does a marine mammal, a killer whale, get to that? Well, they've figured out that if they work together as a team, the killer whales use their bodies and their teamwork to create a wave to wash the seal off the chunk of ice and into the water. So if anyone was ever curious as to, how smart are wild animals, this is the best example I can think of animal intelligence, because they're not born knowing how to do this.
Right.
They've got to learn it, and it's an art.
They have to learn it.
They're not just creating any wave. Like every seal, every wave is unique to that situation. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome. Having this celebration here, Comic-Con, doing this tonight. What's your reaction to that? This just right now in the moment.
So it's a lot. So I literally I literally have just come from a shoot in Alaska. I was sleeping in a tent, and it was a team of 3. So surrounded by bears. There could not be a more polar opposite than Comic-Con.
I mean, it's bears, but
right. It's a different kind of wildlife. Yeah. So no, it's amazing. What's really cool is it's so cool to see so many people from so many different walks of life that are being brought together over the niche things that they're nerdy about. And I recognize that being nerdy about wildlife is niche, and so it's so cool to see all these different people coming together and celebrating what they love.
What they love. This is one of them. I'm so glad that we get the chance to partake in this and getting the chance to even talk to you. Just living a little bit of my childhood through you a little bit. So I'm very happy for you. I'm very excited for you, and I can't wait to check all of this out.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed those interviews from San Diego's Comic-Con. We got more on the way as more videos and more blogs are going to be presented to you about Comic-Con. I cannot wait to share this with you all because, again, there's just so much to say in so little time. But I'm very excited for you guys to see it. But as always, I'm Neville J. Lee, making sure you keep getting the latest buzz with Buzzworthy Radio by logging onto our website at buzzworthyradiocast.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Buzzworthy Radio, liking us on our Facebook page, and you can even check us out on Amazon Music, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. See you guys next time. Take care.
From Twitter to iHeartRadio, Buzzworthy is everywhere. Missed the show? Log on to BuzzworthyRadiocast.com for past shows and videos of some of your favorite stars. Stay connected to Buzzworthy Radio.